Denny Palmer.
Here.
George Fisher.
Yeah, George is on.
Oh, is he? Okay. Monica Heigl.
Here.
Claire Dewhurst. Tammy Alborn.
Here.
Tiffany Conklin.
Here.
Barb Carey.
Here.
Deb Harder.
Here.
And John West.
Here.
We're here.
That's in the garage.
Good job.
You good? Have a quorum?
Yes, we do.
Thank you.
I said that.
Okay. A few opening comments. I welcome everybody. Wow, what a crowd. I think there's more than there was last March annual meeting. So welcome. Under the circumstances, I should say. I checked with my wife just before I left the condo to make sure that my life insurance policy was paid up. In case anybody's got any ideas. She's good. I'm going to touch base a little bit on the elephant that's in the room. And then we'll get to the meat of that later in the meeting. But by now, most of you have heard that, of our unprecedented increase in insurance. Just done to the board members, we were just blown away. $280,000 increase in 1 year. It's just crazy. But from 512 all the way to 792,000. And it's not just Wildwood Springs, it's everywhere. Spring Lakes, right across the boulevard, they doubled their insurance this year. They're paying, I think, $2,100 per unit. Ours, even with this increase, with 558 units, it's about $1,430 per unit. So we are well less per unit. Not that that helps us, but Wildwood too, same thing. Their dues are up at $1,800 per quarter. Plus, they got a $3,800 assessment last month for new roofs. So.
Yeah, we're all muted, but they're not in the room.
They're not muted.
Okay. Roger, can you hear me? George, can you hear me? There's some setting that we're not getting right, Dennis. George, can you hear me now?
Anyone that's on Zoom, they can't hear you.
That's what we're trying to figure out.
So, this is plugged in, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Roger just texted me, he's got nothing.
Right.
I'm not holding it.
Those look like they're working. I think it's where we're pulling it out of. I would go back to the monitor. That seemed to work.
Monitor?
Yeah.
It is in the monitor.
Try the bottom on that. Because that was working at one time. George, can you hear me now? Roger? No.
Tiffany. Verify if I have the recording.
Yes, this is the power.
Yes.
Let's go back to where the two were in the left one.
Wait.
Yeah. No, the two in the left. That's where Roger had it originally. Can you hear me now, Roger?
That's it. This can only go into quarters.
Okay.
Try that.
Roger, can you hear me? George, can you hear me? George, can you hear me? Hello? George, can you hear me? Roger, give us the settings again that we should have.
Thank you, Roger.
You can't hear me.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, if you know how.
I noticed that Rosemary, she's one of the organizers, she is also muted, so maybe they muted themselves as well.
Well, what we're having trouble is trying to get the speakers to work here.
That could be part of it, I'll let them know.
Does it work?
Yep, thank you.
I'll turn it back down when I leave. I turned it down to 75. It was at 79.
Mute yourself. Roger saying you muted
I will when I leave, I'll turn it back up. It's hot, I'm about to pass out.
Roger, can you hear me now? George?
Do you have any sound experts in here?
Roger, can you hear me?
Well, expert is home with COVID, so.
Denny's pretty good.
We started at 1:30. Just figured out.
Roger, we're still having trouble. What settings, could you give us the settings again on the board?
Just for the computer.
Roger?
Call is not available at this time. Please try your call again later.
Oh.
I just sent him a message.
Not you or something.
Sorry.
Yeah, it was working at one point. Why it's not now.
You got light blocking. Oh, yeah.
Does it say cool?
Yeah, it did.
Roger, call me. Roger, who are you talking to, Steve? Yeah, I know, but we somehow we switched some things.
Maybe that one will work.
Give me the settings
It
again.
sounded like it clicked on, but I don't know what.
It feels like
It was 79 volt. Well, that's just true. It's in those two, just don't want to waste the money.
These
Because nothing gets louder than 79. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, just moving really fast. And my shirt sweaty, so it got cool out, you know? Like being on a motorcycle.
Yeah. The single one is goes where?
So it'd be monitor out.
Monitor out.
I think it was working, but
Okay.
doing half wasn't doing it.
Can you hear me now?
I didn't think it was.
Yes?
Some of that too.
Roger, can you hear us?
Is there, I can hear it drawing air.
Yeah, I can do it. I didn't feel it until you.
Roger, can you hear us?
I feel it now.
We're not sure why you can't hear us.
That's not the outside. Yeah, it is. It is. When it's open?
Let me switch them.
Yeah, we're gonna switch to
Can you hear us now?
Yes?
He said yes. George, you can hear us? Okay.
Don't touch anything.
Well, you won't. Sorry.
Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you, Denny.
Okay.
Watch out, my hero.
Good job.
793.9.
I was right.
Close. So 794.
Okay, sorry for the delay. I will stand corrected, John just talked to the insurance guy, it's 793.9. 793.9,000. Anyways, some of you are going to ask, have we got other quotes? There's only one other company who will quote us, and that is the Citizens, which is the state-backed 1.2 million is their quote. So. The board has worked hard, and we'll get into this later in the meeting, but the board has really put a lot of effort into this. We just have had, 10 days since we found out. And we have another 15 days before we have to pay the bill. So, anyways, there were some handouts with legislatures. The only thing I can say is if everybody gets on the state reps, government reps, you know, put it out there. They're the ones that got to do something about getting us more insurance companies in Florida so we get better bids. I urge you to contact them.
We made 50, and for those of you who might not have gotten some of the influence, they've all been emailed to you in a blast, so you will get them at home too.
And Chris Perry was the one that came up with that list of people to get a hold of, so I want to thank him for doing that for us, because it was, I think they make it difficult for you to get a hold of them.
Yes.
Anyways, all right, let's go on with this meeting. Review of the minutes from the 16th of January. Everybody have a chance to take a look at them? All right, I have a motion to accept the minutes. Do I have a second? Second. Deb Hart. Okay. All opposed? Anybody opposed? Nobody on Zoom? Okay. Minutes so accepted. All right, financial matters. I'll let John West give you a little update on our CDs, which are doing well, by the way.
I think it's important that we, I think it's important that we understand that it's not all doom and gloom. We are not that bad a shape in regards to our finances. The biggest problem is what we're going to be discussing today, and that's this insurance bill that's come in without our knowledge, so to speak, and not without any way we could have planned for it. At the present time, in January, we're under budget in regards to the budget we set in last year. The only thing that we're over budget in is our income that we've gotten in and the amount of money we have in our operating fund, which is $1,200,000. Unfortunately, almost $600,000 of that is what we're going to need to pay off, plus to pay off the insurance. At the present time, just for information, we have $1.8 million in reserves, and these are the reserves that we have planned for roof repair, painting, etc., etc. We're fully funded in that particular area. At the present time, our new ladder program that Barb Carey and I put together is working well. We've got approximately, I believe it is somewhere in the neighborhood of 4+% interest coming in. So far this year, we have, since I think it was December, we've increased our monies by $3,600. So we are taking the money that we have in reserves and investing them in CDs. And we have a program, ongoing program, which should net us a pretty good amount of money by the end of the year, a lot more than what we had this year anyway. So things are not doom and gloom. The key thing is how do we pay the insurance bill that's coming up here. I won't get into that discussion because that'll be what Steve will lead, but we do have some ideas, and I think we'll find a way to do it without too much pain to anyone. Any questions?
Okay, thank you. Thank you, John. Accounts receivable.
Yes, thank you. As of February 16th, accounts receivable, we have units that owe less than 1/4 but more than $500. That's one, and that's a person, just one. Units that owe 1/4, 8, and a unit that owes 2/4, 1. Units that owe more than 3/4 are legal, with the legal issues, and they've been given to the attorney for collection. That includes an owner who has not paid for any of the special 3 special assessments that are due. Unit 364, the Bank of America foreclosed on that property and has title. The amount the bank is owed and the foreclosure amount is $267,331.22. The amount owed to the association is $15,134.08. The amount amount to be expected to be collected from the bank is $15,134.08. However, the bank is challenging the amount owed, which has delayed receipt of funds. We have placed a lien against the bank because they haven't paid any maintenance fees since they took it over a year ago. There will be a hearing March 28th on this subject, and we hope to have some progress at that time. Unit 718 has had a lien and foreclosure act for non-payment of maintenance fees, and this is the strangest thing I've seen in 25 years of doing this. The judge has ruled that the association must go to non-binding arbitration to collect the maintenance fee though.
What?
I talked to the attorney today and I said I'd never heard of this, and she said, well, it's a judge that's new, and I said, yeah, but I mean, according to statutory requirements, they owe, anyone who doesn't pay maintenance fees obviously owes. But now I have to go, and probably Steve, you might go with me, to non-binding arbitration where we go and say, number one, the state statutes do not allow us to negotiate fees, people owe fees. Number two, we've never forgiven any attorney fees or late or interest fees, and this particular unit has been problematic on collection for 8 or 9 years, so I see no reason to reach any compromise, but we have to go through that issue. Finally, Unit 345 owed $3727.01, and they brought in a check last Friday, so that's taken care of. So the good news is we're down to 2 units with legal issues.
Very good. Okay, old business. Second floor entry slab renovation.
Okay, since restarting the project in January, 25 units have had structural work completed by Hall Construction. Scupper work will be finished on these starting next week. Our average return by going to this particular way of, our average expense rather, by going to this particular construction firm has reduced our costs for renovating these units from slightly over $5,000 to about $1,800 a unit. They've put in a crew and they've done yeoman's work. The money we've set aside is going to allow us to get the project done in half the time we thought, and it's turned into a very positive situation.
Very good. All right, next item is to discuss the purchase of the automatic pool system meters.
Here again, pricing. And for those of you who do not know this, all of our pools and spas have an automatic feeder system to them that allows the chemicals to remain as designed, if you will. And we've had the system for, well, it predates me, so it's over 10 years old. And the association has been leasing this equipment for about $8,400 a year. At least I brought to the board, let's consider maybe purchasing the equipment. We won't have this expense because the equipment has a long life. And it turns out that a whole new system for all 7 pools and 7 spas installed with warranties would be $47,674. As of now, we know we've paid over $84,000 what we have. The second thought would be to go to the company that owns the equipment and see if they'll sell us that, and we can maintain that at a lesser price. I have now called and left messages there that we are through and we're interested and we're going to put equipment in, and still have not had return calls from the principals. So it's still up in the air. The good news is the equipment we have continues to function. The bad news is we pay them the $700 a month. So it's still up in the air situation.
Okay, thank you. We'll discuss that more, I'm sure, in the next workshop. Status of the 2022 audit.
Okay, the auditor has been on property, gone through all of our receipts and invoices. They've also contacted any of those pertinent parties that would affect our audit, such as the attorney. Are we being sued, or do we have collections in process? Contacted our CD holders for the amount of money that we've invested, which is a little bit more than, well, it's $1 million. And so the verifications are all taken care of. I expect the audit to be back by mid-March.
Is that the prelude for the next item on the agenda?
No comment.
Very calm.
Thanks. All right, insurance update. John, you just got the final figure you want to?
Yeah, yes, if I may. Well, let me get my little discourse going here for a minute, if you don't mind. Some of you have this. I hope I do. This has been, again, some of you have this, some of you, the rest of you will get, if we have email addresses, copies of this. It was emailed this morning. Basically, it's titled Status of Florida Property Insurance Rates. For the years previous to and included in the 1990s, the purchase of property insurance for condominium was a very simple matter. Rates were low, and several major insurance companies such as State Farm, Allstate, Continental, and Northwestern would compete with competitive rates. I can remember sending out proposal requests to 5 or 6 companies back in those days. As the frequency and severity of major storms and wildfires increased during the early 2000s, rates climbed, and eventually those major companies decided not to write property insurance for condominiums. Smaller, less fiscally sound companies filled the void left by the exit of the major companies, and property insurance rates started to climb. The situation got so severe that the state of Florida had to create the Citizens Insurance Fund, backed by state funds, in 2002. This action helped stabilize rates to a certain degree, but did not encourage the major insurance companies to return to the state. Fast forward to 2016 through 2020, rates actually decreased. Wildwood Springs insurance budget decreased from $340,000 in 2016 to $295,000 in 2020. Again, starting in 2017 throughout this year, the number of property insurance claims as a result of storms, etc., has increased, and the number of insurance companies willing to write property insurance, particularly for condominiums, dramatically decreased. Currently, there are only 3 companies, insurance entities, in the state of Florida willing to write property insurance for condominiums of age, our age is 43 years, and of our value of $92 million. The companies are the Heritage Insurance Company, which declined to write or give us a proposal due to our age. As Steve alluded to earlier, the state of Florida Citizens Fund, whose wind insurance bid was $1.2 million. And then the ACIC, our current provider for the past 5 years, bid for the 2024 wind policy is $698,806. The cost of wind insurance is 89% of our total insurance package, which includes property insurance other than wind, general liability, felony bond, directors and officers, vehicle, and an umbrella blanket policy. Policies other than wind are competitively bid each year, and each year, of course, because they are, we get the best rates possible on those particular items. There's several companies that are interested in writing those types of policies. Our total package this year, and I put down 792 because didn't have the final figure. Actually, it's 793,900 because of the wind rate increase. We must pay this because state statutes require condominiums to purchase adequate insurance, but more importantly, and it takes precedent over the state, our declaration of condominium, Wildewood Springs declaration of condominium, require the association to purchase full value. So we are required by our documents to purchase not only wind insurance, but fire insurance and all other related insurance to value for property for $92 million. As an aside, every 3 years the state requires the condominiums to have an evaluation for repair or replacement. And we were actually at 78 million 3 years ago, but because of scarcity of parts, cost of labor, cost of materials, the most recent evaluation that we got was 92 million. Of course, coupled with rate increases, makes a gigantic jump in the last 2 years. What can condominium owners do to reverse this disturbing and extremely expensive trend? It's truly imperative that we email our state of Florida senator and representatives imploring them to take action to reduce these radical increases. And of course, then we have the addresses to various people.
Very good, thank you. The board is, well, we talked long and hard this last week, and we're gonna have to take it up again next month to figure out how. We are about $148,000 short for this insurance policy that is due March 10th.
It's actually right now 153.
153. We've thrown a lot of things around. We decided to get the budget committee back in session and figure out exactly, I mean, we've got a ballpark figure. Probably looking at an increase, we speculate, 1st of July this year, about $70 a month, or 210 tops per quarter. Which is, again, like I said at the beginning, that's still going to leave us in excess of $100 less than the people across the street in Spring Lakes or even in Wildewood too, and it's statewide. So, and those units are not fully funded. So when they have something come up, they have to do assessments every time. We don't. So. I guess the budget committee will get together. And
Tomorrow, 10 o'clock.
Tomorrow, 10 o'clock. I'll be there. And by next month, we will have something in stone to deal with this. In the meantime, we're probably going to either finance the 150 through the insurance company or let John.
Yeah, again, I've got recent figures, hopefully we can do better, but the insurance company rate for financing we'd have to finance up to 153. We do have some surplus operating funds that the board may wish to contribute $15,000, $20,000, $30,000 toward not having and pay ourselves back, obviously, and not have the interest rate. The insurance interest rate is 8.4% per annum. So I think we'd probably try to go as low as possible.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. With that rate increase, we will pay that off probably by October 1st. Two quarter dues, and we'll be able to pay that off and then also start addressing what it might be next year.
We actually have paid off the various deficits that we have in our collection, and to pay off the additional we'll have to borrow would be, you said roughly 70 a month, but 210 a quarter, but it would really be for 3 quarters to make sure that the next March we have the correct amount of money. So, and then if we don't have a raise, then we'll be in fine shape. Last year, when we said we had special assessments, everybody said, we're going to have to do it again, we're going to have to do it again. Happens not. I mean, we were told when we figured, when this budget met, and the budget committee is very diligent. The budget committee starts in July and it works straight through the budget that's passed in November, was given a hard figure, 28% increase. And that's what the figure worked out to be, $640,000, which we anticipate and will have due to the figures. But when the loan comes in at $698, then you got $90,000, $92,000 on top of that, you get $793.
Yes.
Can I ask a question? So you're saying that it will be a...
You can stand up there.
Take it out, DJ.
Please do.
So it would go up for a special assessment until it's paid off, and it's not going to be like that increase forever on the condo association.
I'll let John address that.
there are a couple ways to fund it. Obviously, one is a special assessment. Okay, the other way is to add it to the quarterly fees. And we have no indication whatsoever that the rates are going to come down appreciably in the near future.
It could though.
They could, and as I said, we lowered our rates from 2016 to 2019 as we found that. And if that's happening, fine. But we won't know our next rate, our renewal rate for 2024 until roughly 15 days before, because the companies just don't release the rates. Right now, if we were to sit on what is proposed, there would be a $210 quarterly increase for the foreseeable future.
In
And it would
addition
stay in
to
there.
the amount
It
that's
would-
already
it
been
would-
charged?
It would, yes.
Oh my God.
Yes, it would stay in there until we get a rate reduction, and then of course, if that comes, there's several ways. We can primarily send some money back. It's been done before. But this is how radical it is. I mean, we're talking about $70 a month. And, you know, we might even play with the fact, and when I say play, we might consider, that's a bad word, play with money. We might consider allowing monthly payments instead of quarterly payments. That might be easier for some people to do. But that's not up to me, but it's up to some of the proposals. I mean, we're looking anywhere and everywhere to make this heinous increase, in my opinion, more palatable.
Very good. Yes, we talked a whole lot about it. Go ahead, Monica.
Since we have $1 million invested in CDs, is there any way that we can borrow against those CDs the $150,000, because we're only earning 4% but we're paying 8% to borrow the money? So can we do that?
State statutes prohibit the amount, the transfer, loan, whatever you want to call it, from reserves to operating without an owner vote. Now, unfortunately, we're going to deal with this a little bit later. We are anticipating an owner vote to transfer funds at the annual meeting, but they were specifically designed to transfer only interest earned. So if that were to pass, and we're going to remove it because the attorney, unfortunately, wrote the amendment incorrectly to include all funds in our reserve, which no one would want to do. I mean, this board would never touch funds illegally, but who knows 20 years from now what could happen. And if that vote were in effect, they could transfer any monies. So that we're going to be tabling that vote at this annual meeting and then voting on again in the future for just interest earned. But interest earned will only be $3,000 or $4,000, so it's not going to be there to offset. State statutes prohibit the taking of any reserve funds for operating expenses.
Well, I'm not talking about reserve, I'm talking about the CDs, that's what they are.
So that is CDs. That is the reserve fund. The CDs are reserve funds. Catch 22.
John?
Over here.
Yes, John.
This will be something we'll be discussing in the budget meeting.
John, you gotta talk into the mic.
Pick up the mic.
Get a little closer.
This is something we'll be discussing in the budget meeting, am I correct, in regards to the different options we have?
That is correct. But I can also say that self-insurance is talked about all the time. Unfortunately, that again is prohibited by state statutes. But to some degree, we are self-insuring because of the high deductibles we have to purchase. On wind alone is a 5% deductible. So anytime you get $1 million loss, you get 5% or whatever. It has to come out of the owner's pockets first.
John, is there an opportunity to raise the deductible at all to help reduce the costs?
We are buying maximum deductible right now for the wind. And the wind is the whole thing. Everything else is okay. Our regular fire and everything else is only $5,000. So, I mean, and there was another thought proposed by the insurance agent was to drop only the value of wind insurance. In other words, we'd have fire and any other peril at $92 million, but we would drop the wind rate not to cover the full. The thought being is we've got 40 buildings, they're built extremely well. What are the chances of them just disappearing? And we have a claim for $92 million. So we thought we'd pursue it, even though the documents say we can't do it. But we thought we'd see what the rate reduction would be, at least for the future. And it turns out, if we were to value our wind exposure from 92 million to 10 million, we'd save $12,000. It's ridiculous. They get you both ways. So that's out the window.
It's a racket that they got, and right now we can't do anything about it, so that's why we implore you to call your senators, congressmen, whatever. You got to do something. This is just get.
My suggestion is to get their addresses and show up at their office.
We can do that too.
Yes, you can, and I think that is really effective. I wouldn't say take a gang of you, but 2 or 3 go to they're local. They're all local.
So if it goes back down, are we gonna get money back? I mean,
Let's
we're raising it.
Yes, once we get, this paid off and see what next year's is like, if it comes in at much lower and we don't need the $70 a month extra, we can get the budget committee together and we can lower it. We have the ability to do that.
What's the increase on our insurance premium from last year? Just round figure.
$280,000.
More than last year.
Yes.
Are we allowed to borrow money from a bank to pay that?
We're going to have to do that, at least some of it, about 140,000. We still have to look and see what we have in surplus, and we're going to try to borrow as little as possible, and then pay it off as quickly as possible. Go ahead, Kelly.
My question is,
Hit the mic, please, Kelly.
yes, my question is, you said it to be self-insured, that's prohibited by state statutes. What does self-insured mean?
Means that the self-insured would mean that the owners would set up their own fund and against loss of peril.
And why would that be illegal?
Because the state statute prohibited it. That's catch-22 answer, but it's true.
And how can that be verified? Because it just doesn't make sense to me. If it's our money and we want to insure our own property because we have the funds, why can't we use the funds that we have to insure it?
We don't have $92 million.
No, we don't have $92 million, but we certainly have enough in reserves to begin to contribute to that.
You have money in reserves to ensure that your common elements where you live, your buildings, the structure, the painting, the paving, everything else, we don't assess for. This particular community, Wildwood Springs itself, is one of the few. Many of you know I had my own company for years. We had 88 properties at one time as a high number. Only 3 fully funded. So it's rarity. Everybody just writes checks when it's time. Wildwood 2 just had to do it. Spring Lakes just had to do it. If you were to take that roughly $2 million that we have in reserves, then if we wanted to do the repaving, I'd have to send everybody a special assessment notice. Almost 9 years ago, we had a paint project, which the paint project cost us $545,000. We did almost $90,000 worth of wood repair, all from funds that have been collected for reserves. I just got a bid for next year or the next year for painting, $765,000. Best bid because of increased labor and materials costs. It's a beautiful history in this community of not having two special assessments since 2008. 2008 was an insurance assessment, and last year was insurance assessment. Everything else, believe it or not, as the rates have escalated, even through this year, the regular expenses have been flat and the same for the past 3 years. Anything you've seen additionally out of your pocket has gone totally to pay insurance premiums.
Okay.
Steve, okay.
Come on up. Give us your name and get it down.
Gus Miller. I'm not following your numbers, so that's why I have a question. We're 153 short, that's right, 153,000? If we're gonna pay that, if we're gonna be assessed, and we're gonna try to pay that off over 6 months, that works out to $46 a month. And if we pay it over the next 9 months, it's $30 a month. So where's the 70 a month coming from?
For the payment of next year's premium. You have to have money next March 7th. If we didn't have all of that in there, we wouldn't have money for next March 7th. We'd be in the same position we're not.
You'd end up in the same place we are, owing that $170,000 that we haven't come up with, or
You gotta
$150,000.
talk into the mic.
Yeah.
I had a hard time understanding that too, but what it means is that if we do it by special assessment and pay that, what is it, the number, $150,000, if we pay that we're short this year, that'll pay this premium. However, next year, when we come March, when we gotta pay again and the rates are the same, we're still gonna be short that much plus whatever the premiums go up.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else? Anything on the board?
Get Ted in here.
I think that that was just answered, that if we do not have an increase and have just an assessment, we're going to be in the same position next year for being short of 153,000.
Or more.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the annual meeting information.
Okay, I previously alluded to the fact that we're going to table any vote. I'm sorry, did somebody want to speak?
Who's speaking, please?
Who's speaking, please? Someone on Zoom was speaking, is that correct? Not getting them anymore. Hello?
Can you hear us?
Yes?
Okay. This is Alice and Kim at 273 and 275. We're wondering if it's a possibility of you to share a sample letter for us to write to the state representatives, because we're really not exactly sure what we're asking them or asking them to do. Is there any possibility of you sending us the sample letter so we can get that out to the state representatives?
Very good question. Be happy to do so, and we'll do it in the form of either posting on the bulletin boards and/or email everybody. So yes, we'll do that as soon as we can.
John, I think an email blast is good because otherwise they're going to have to count on what they can remember from the bulletin board.
Oh, I agree. We'll definitely send it.
Steve, can you just go over the process, what everybody can expect, like next steps, and then when will it be, the budget committee will decide various options, and then we'll vote on it? Can you just go over that for everybody?
Okay, well, the budget committee is going to meet tomorrow, at least for the first time.
And they should show up.
And to show up. We're going to crunch figures.
outside if we do.
We're going to crunch figures and see if that number that we as the board sort of came up with is what we need to work with. And then the budget committee will make that recommendation to the board, and then the board will pass it, and we will probably have an increase July 1st, and again in October, the same, and January. And then after January, once we know what our insurance is, then we can look at the possibility. You know, if for some reason it goes down and we don't need that extra, maybe we lower it back down. But for now, that's pretty much the schedule for the rest of this year.
Steve, will we be voting on the proposal at the next meeting in March?
Most likely.
Statutorily, we require a 2-week notice to the owners if we're going to modify it or amend the budget. So it's all going to be depending upon how soon we decide. We might have to have a special board meeting to take the recommendations from the budget committee and then work it into how you all feel you want to do. But there are very specific set of circumstances on how to notify the owners and when and how and everything else. Nothing can be done just by board action without notification.
Yeah, agreed. So it might be the April meeting, but probably it will go into effect July. Okay.
Wait. But I want each and every one of you to know that you have input in this. Either come to the budget meeting or discuss this and bring up your ideas. This isn't just the board, this is all of us. So you need to bring your ideas of how we could get this money or other ways of, other than robbing a bank, getting money together to meet our budgetary needs for insurance. So, I mean, don't feel that this is, just a one-way street where it's cut and dried of, this is what we're doing. You have input in this, and please bring your ideas, to the board or to the budget committee.
Thank you, very good idea. And just to add a couple things, you might say, wow, we've gone through storms, we've cleaned up. Emily, 3 or 4 years ago, we expended over $100,000. This past year, with the storms that we went through, we expended $50,000, and then never had a claim. But number one, the claims that we had were far under our deductible, but we had the cash to do it, and that's important. But why are the rates so crazy even if you haven't had claims? Well, there's been a shift also that we didn't get into earlier, where it used to be 25, 30 years ago, if your area was devoid of storms or devoid of bad claims, okay, the rates remained fairly constant. But the insurance companies decided that they didn't want to take all the value. In other words, we have a $92 million wind policy. The most, the insurance companies back in those days would say, well, we'll do 50 million. And then we'll go into the reinsurance market. And when you go, and it's a good chance that the reinsurance rates are much higher, because that encompasses the state of the whole United States. In other words, some of these rates we're now paying for are because of fires on the West Coast or what have you. So it became an all-inclusive thing instead of what just happened in Manatee County or West Florida or even the state of Florida. So we're bucking a major, major issue. Budget committee meeting Budget committee meeting will be at 10 a.m. tomorrow. We schedule it at the office. Obviously, we can move into the parking lot if we get a good group, because we can't get that many people into the office meeting room. But we'll accommodate everybody and anybody.
And it's on Zoom.
And we'll Zoom it too. Thank you.
Yeah, you sit at home and still put your input in. All right.
We're back at the annual meeting. Okay, the annual meeting will be here March 13th at 1 o'clock. Okay, our documents again dictate that we have a little earlier meeting for the annual meeting. And after that, of course, is the organizational meeting of the new board and the regular board meeting. So there are 3 meetings that day, and that's the reason they have it a bit earlier. There will be an election in one village. There's election of Woodland Village, so only those owners in Woodland will be voting on that particular seat. And there's also an opening in Oak View. There are 2 openings on that board, in that village, and only 1 submitted. So the board will have a right to appoint either somebody from that village, and if nobody is truly interested from that village at this term, the board can appoint anyone from the association according to the documents. And that'll be on Monday, March 13th.
John, what was the date? 13th.
Monday, March 13th.
Okay, next new business, communications.
Communications. We've received an email from owner Cheryl Pike, 586 Lakeside Drive, requesting an update on the status of the association operations manual. Roger, maybe?
Oh, yeah.
Not to throw it at you, Roger.
The last thing that I knew was that there were some complaints about what the committee had put together. And at that point, the committee chair was Claire, and she was going to get, the way I understood it was that there was going to be a meeting of either her or the committee and the person that was complaining about the way it was put together, and it was going to be worked on. I have had no information about any meeting since those conversations, and that goes back several months. So we'll have to stir the pot with the chairperson to see what next steps are going to take place. We thought we had it completed, but it was severely criticized, so we did not publish it. We wanted that person that criticized it to work with us to fix it.
Roger is saying that anyone who has interest in amending the work is welcome to work with the committee. Leslie. You're welcome to join us. Okay.
I'm on that committee, okay? And I have no awareness of what the complaints were. Does anybody have any awareness what those complaints were? I know there was something about maybe some misspelled words, but there was more.
Right, yes.
I think what Roger said is correct. We should stir it up a little bit and probably have a committee meeting to get it, because it's in its final stages. There's no question about that. It's just been a long time coming. Leslie, do you want to?
No, nothing.
Well, it was some grammatical issues and some spelling issues. I know that Barbara, you came in and brought some new ideas, and they were incorporated, but you probably haven't seen them.
That's where it was left, as far as I know.
Yeah, that's where it is. Yeah. So let's get it back together and get it up.
All right, let's go to pot.
Additional communications. A letter was sent to Gabrielle Parrott, 311 Lakeside Drive, requesting her to remove holiday lights from front of her unit. Apparently she just forgotten they were in there and she took them out, and that's been taken care of. And finally, a letter was sent to Heather Whitmore, 114 Pinehurst Drive, requesting her to stop feeding birds behind her unit. A second request. I have not heard any feedback, but try to go back there almost on a daily basis to see if there's any food. I haven't seen any bird food out there lately.
Okay, stump grinding. We know they were all out there today. I could hear
Stump grinding, yep, they did a heck of a good job and got in and out. We even, as an additional part of it, they weren't part of it, we did it in-house. We removed all of those palmetto bush things that Dennis felt that for having the parties and the presentations, that's been done. We're going to start that area. And the stump grinding has completed, and we took down 2 large trees that were leaning toward the 500 buildings today also. They were dead.
He's done it by remote control.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was a great machine. I mean, you just stood there.
Watched them.
The old days, the guys sitting on them and grinding down, and they're all gone.
big machine. All right, manager's report.
Basically, you've heard just about 100% of it. General issues, the carport ceiling repairs are to commence next week. Materials are in, so they should be taken care of. Also, I've been in touch with Manatee Code Enforcement regarding the homeless encampment on 43rd Avenue. They again promised to help. Unfortunately, we've been given that answer before. With results, but not lasting results. Steve and I regularly go down that trail and try to dissuade the homeless from that corner. It's not our property. It's Manatee County with a FP&L easement, and it is deteriorating dramatically. It's really sad what's going on there, and we're begging the code enforcement to come out and enforce the rules. Finally, the mulch is being applied to the back of units and the common areas and pool areas, and we're in the process of doing that. And finally, there was 280 service calls or requests handled by the staff since the last month of the meeting.
John, on the code enforcement, Jason Beard is our new...
Did you? Okay.
No, you know.
Yeah.
I will.
Yeah, I will. I will. I shall.
Okay.
Should we invite him to the next
Yes.
spring fling?
Anybody want to see some pictures?
Okay. All right, committee reports. Pete, you want to start?
Gonna need the microphone, everybody. Yeah.
As John stated, we've been spreading the mulch in between, answering calls and cleaning up leaves and so forth, and progressing well. And the stump grinding was done. I must add that initially when we were talking about grinding the stumps, we had some feedback as far as we have grounds, and John and I knew we were going to use them because we've known them and know the way they operate. And some people were saying, why don't you put it out for bids? So to, appease people, we put it out for bids, and Brown came in $3,000 less than the lowest bid. So they did, and they do a great job. And we're going to, as soon as the mulch is done, then we're going to start replacing some of the older hibiscus with snow queens or whatever. And the area by Pool 7 at the intersection there, that's going to be freshened up also. So far things are going well.
Thank you. Chris, I think.
We have a meeting this Friday, 10 o'clock. It'll be Zoom only. And we're sort of looking at the possibility of having a class that would familiarize people with our website. We have an awful lot of information on the website. So if anybody might be interested in a class that they could learn more, we could help them. We would be happy to hear from you, and we could schedule something. So we're looking, when we've tried class in the past, we haven't had a lot of response, so we're hoping we would get more this time.
Okay, Tammy, pool.
The pool committee, Jack has replaced the mosquito tubes and the bait traps for ants around the pools. And I constantly ask, please no food at the pools, because that's what causes the rodents and the ant problem. Monthly we look at the pools, one pool a month, and see if there's anything that we can make changes or fix or whatever. And that's why we have the pool meetings monthly at a different pool each month. Last month, we changed the handles on the shepherd hooks because we realized that if someone walked into it accidentally or used it and jammed themselves, they could get harmed. So we have now rubber handles on them. There will be no March 7th pool committee meeting due to the board of directors workshop is the same day. It happens every year in March. The next committee is the courtyard sale, and it was a success once again this year. We are one step closer to decluttering our homes. There was a slight issue with, pardon? Yes. There was a slight problem with distribution of the tables, and as always, it will remain the same. When you put a work order in, it's first request, first received.
The real problem was we ran out of tables.
Right.
We had a request for like 70 tables.
Yeah.
We don't have them.
A lot of junk this year. I mean, stuff. Treasures.
Steve, you want to talk about this?
Yeah, you want to do something with the newsletter?
So I'm Barbara Carey for the newsletter. And this Thursday, we're going to have our kickoff meeting for the next issue. If you'd like to attend or call in on Zoom, we're always looking for people interested in writing articles or coming up with ideas for articles, as well as proofreading, editing, and helping us obtain advertising. So that will be this Thursday at the office at 10 a.m.
Thank you, Barbara. Building committee. We just finished up a list for closing up your places when you're going back north, for those of you who are here half of the year. And we've had a lot of issues with mold. And it's a matter of having somebody who really knows what they're doing to be looking at your place and taking care of it while you're gone. I know we got people who said, oh, my neighbor looks in, they open the door and let me in, looks good, I'm gone. We had one in Springdale just 2 weeks ago. All of a sudden a whole bunch of mold was found on the furniture and everywhere. They had to have mold remediation in. The person who was watching it was a neighbor. And she felt so bad. But she's not qualified. So we have two guys they work for us that do this for people. And they do a heck of a job. They send pictures, they know what to look for. Mold just comes. I have damp rid in both of my walk-in closets. And literally every 3 weeks I go in there and there's got that much water on the bottom of it. And that's while I'm there and the air conditioner's running. I remember when my dad was here one time, I came down, I went in his closet and I saw his shoes, leather shoes down on the floor, just dusting of mold all over them. So it's not just when you're gone, it's when you're here too. I keep damp rid constantly in those two closets. But that's what the building committee just finished working on. Hopefully we'll have that out and available to you before you guys, those of you who go north, so you can look at it. And I really suggest you have somebody, doesn't have to be Jack or Jim, but somebody who really does this for a living or knows what they're doing. Otherwise, you come down to not a nice surprise. But that's what the building committee is working on. Our next meeting is...
our next meeting...
it'll be on the bulletin.
Yeah. It's usually let's don't say, okay. But it is probably the third week of next March. Yeah. I did want, in case there is social, I don't know if Cynthia's here. No, okay.
March 18th.
Spring Fling is March 18th at 1:30?
Yep.
3. Or is it 3 o'clock? 3 o'clock.
Sign up is at the office. We ask that if you sign up and you are bringing something to pass, that you be specific, whether it's a salad or like beans. Last time we had beans, double flossing. The other thing is we are having the 50-50 raffle. Bring cash. We don't take cards.
Yeah.
And it's 25-25 for the winners and 50 for charities, which will be distributed between two. So it's actually 25-25-25-25. And the charities are Hope, which is a women's shelter, and what's it called?
Turning Points. Turning point.
Turning points. Oh, Shannon knows about that, okay. So, March 18th, be there. Oh, and live music.
Oh, Denny.
Live music. Free to us. Did you want to talk about that? Dennis?
That was Cynthia's.
No.
What Dennis knows?
Denny's the man.
So at the Spring Fling, we'll be having music throughout the event, but then at 5 o'clock we'll have some live music. A gentleman who's very good, you heard him sing. We'll have two gentlemen singing for probably another hour. But then on the 12th of March, I've put together some live music which we will be doing outside of the tennis courts, where we'll have a stage and lights, and that will be about an hour show. That will be the 12th. That'll probably start at dusk and then go into the evening. It'll be about an hour. And there's one other show that I put together, which I did up north, a Beatles show, which will be at the end of March. And that'll be a video of a show that we did last year, probably 30 or 40 songs of the Beatles on a live stage. Last year we showed a Sinatra show where basically when you're looking at it, it looks like it's live because of the way it was set up and done. So these are all free events, and I hope everybody can enjoy themselves.
Thanks.
And the dates on the whole for it?
The Beatles show, I hadn't said the date for, will be after the Spring Fling, probably a week after, during the week. The live show is March 12th. Okay? All right? If anybody has any questions, thank you.
Thank you. We're coming up with a little live music. All right, the next item is director's comments. Start with you, Dick. Wow, that was easy.
What's that?
That must be the announcement for the owner's comments. Any owners want to have any comments? Wow. Okay, come on up. One in the back. Name and unit number, please.
Larry Patsy, 288 Sherwood. My insurance just went up 50%, so I know what you're talking about.
You got to speak into the microphone, sir.
When I'm leaving here, we're $153,000 short this year to pay our insurance premium. So you want to collect $306,000 between now and the next payment in case nothing changes in premium. So let's say we do it for $70 a month for 9 months, that pays that bill. But then come next March, if there's no change in premium, we're still going to need $35 from each one of us. Because if we don't, we'll be $153,000 short.
Not the way I calculate. We may change tomorrow when we look at it again, but the way it's calculated, I'm sorry, Lee. The way it's calculated is this $70 a month will take care of it, and the entire premium, should it be actually figured. If we take the dollars we're currently contemplating and bringing in, by next March, we'll have $807,000, so a slightly about $10,000 more than we need. So if there was a rate increase of about $10,000, we'll have that. If it goes to $900,000, we're back in the same shape. But we should be okay calculating, and we'll do that again to make sure that the figures are right.
Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate you coming, Lee. Thank you.
Okay.
Wait.
Come on now, walk around your room.
Roger Ryan, 363 Woodlawn. I know you're talking about this $70 3 months, 210. Keep talking about it being due on July and October, January, and April. If you could offset that from the monthly or the quarterly premiums for our maintenance, have it the next month or the previous month, don't have it come at the same time. That bother you?
Well, it's a suggestion that we'll certainly take because that's exactly what we're asking for. If you have other suggestions, then that's a good one. The thought process would be even possibly to go a monthly payment versus offset, but that's another option. Certainly,
either way, but that, you know, you tack it on to. I know I'm just shaking. That's just me. We'll get it, Roger.
There we go.
But that's just an idea because I don't know even what my monthly or quarterly maintenance is. Let's say roughly $1,400. You go and tack $210 on that too. It's not really going to hurt me, but it's going to hurt a lot of people.
That's something to bring to the budget committee.
Yeah. Well, you're going to, whoever goes to the budget committee, take it to them.
We'll take it.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Let me ask online here.
Does anyone online have a comment? Would like to say anything? Doesn't look like anybody is responding.
We have one more back here. Over here on the right.
Please come to the microphone.
Okay, if we, I'm supposed to have some surgery. Rather than have my kids or someone else handling the things going on, can I pay this extra amount all at once? And just have you hold it and pull it out?
Well, you say pay it all at once or take it out?
No, pay it all, I would write you a check for the whole thing.
You could do that, but if it's entered into, I'm sorry again. If it is entered into the quarterly fee, then it can be taken out by the bank as it normally is.
Okay, but
When
you
they have a
don't know
special,
that.
well, we don't know what we're going to do yet, but the answer is we always take money.
Okay. Because my name is Barbara Carr, I'm Woodlawn, 657. But if they're going to do a knee, you're going to go in for a rehab, and why have my kids or somebody worry about it if I can pay it off?
I think it was
Yeah, we were down for a second, but we're back on, but the meeting is close to being over.
All right, do I hear a motion?
Second.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second. Thank you for coming.